Hiya, I'm Shoshana, Dr. Shoshana Garfield. I have a PhD in psychology, and what I'm here to talk about is the times when actually that doesn't help at all for credibility, amazingly enough. There's this thing called the ETIC position, ETIC, ETIC position, written about extensively by Robert Anton Wilson in quantum psychology. And what he talks about is that there are lots of different kinds of things in the world, and when we think about quantum physics, even saying that there are different kinds of things in the world can get a bit fuzzy, like is the bush behind me really there when it's mainly empty space, for instance. But putting those kinds of questions aside, there are things in the world that we perceive that we touch, perceive that we see, perceive that we hear, and all that sort of thing. And those are things that we can more easily substantiate. We can weigh fruit out at the grocery store. It's harder to weigh up God, for instance. And so there are things that we can prove, things that we think we may be able to prove, but haven't yet got the technology for. So, for instance, there are some instruments that have started to measure auras and the energy systems of the body. There was a really great article done by this team of French scientists on the meridians. They started off wanting to disprove the meridians, so they had this really wonderful experiment on injecting very different isotopes into actual points and then around the points and looking at the ways that they diffused. And what they came to, without summarizing it entirely for you, is that, oh, meridians seem to exist. Oh shit, now what? So in that case, that was a really good position in terms of coming from an ETIC space, coming from the ETIC position. Let's see what we can prove, and we're going to allow the information to determine what our paradigms are for thinking about things. What often happens instead is, instead of the ETIC position, what many practitioners and scientists do is think about, well, how can what I'm doing fit within the framework of what I've already got? That is the essence of selective stupidity, that you can have people that are otherwise amazingly brilliant, but will screen out information, even well-documented information, for instance, on the existence of meridians, because it just doesn't fit within their paradigm. That's an emotional issue. Those emotional issues come from various different kinds of places. So, for instance, well, I can't believe in meridians because I'm just not an energy person. Well, what if you were? That would mean I'd have to change who I am. So there's an identity issue involved. Sometimes the identity is in training. So, for instance, Paul McKenna once said something along the lines of, gosh, I wish I'd heard about this EFT, emotional freedom technique thing years ago. I've done all this NLP training and all I need to do is EFT. Now, I don't know how much tongue-in-cheek that was, but it's certainly in favor of EFT. And as well, it's a bit more humble saying, wow, I'm willing to take on board something new here. What happens, though, is a lot of professionals, and with compassion, medical doctors and mental health professionals spend years and years and years in training. Years and years and years being told how to think about emotions and about the body. So when this new stuff starts coming along about the mind-body, the psyche-soma connection, the unity of psyche and soma, it can be really challenging. So then the question becomes, what did you go into the work for? Was it to be a cognitive behavioral therapist, or was it to relieve suffering? Was it to be a clinical psychologist, or was it to help people? What's the mission there? Was it to gain social approval, maybe? To have a prestigious job that, will keep you above water for the rest of your life? Not about helping people at all. Maybe more about the cachet, as it were, that comes from emotional or social or financial security. Hiding behind an identity. These are all emotional issues that get in the way of seeing clearly. Now, luckily for me, I was open-minded enough to be able to explore different kinds of ways of treating severe suffering and relieving the pain of severe suffering, but not so open-minded that my brains fell out. So there were some of the things I came across and looked into that were just that little bit too far even for me. But this is what I came down to. If it seemed vaguely reasonable, I'd be willing to try it. And I'd think about and see and feel and experience what came from it. What that has led me to is a position of great intellectual and emotional humility. That I know if I'm resisting learning about a new modality, that's about my emotional stuff getting in the way. And also being humble enough to say, right, I'm in this work because I really, really care about people. And I really, really care about people finding their innate goodness and their innate joy. So I'm going to do whatever it takes, man. I'm here doing whatever it takes. If that means doing something that looks completely ridiculous, I'm willing to do it. I'm completely there. And actually, if you look at David Feinstein's article, I think it was printed in 2008, a meta-analysis of energy psychology research, actually, it's gaining credibility even in mainstream press. So if you are a clinical psychologist, mental health professional, medical doctor watching this, or if you are someone that has to deal with such practitioners and are getting the short end of the stick, I really want to urge you to a position of humility, of emotional humility, of accepting that there may be something keeping you from something very, very rewarding. And also urge you to intellectual humility, that there may be things you haven't studied yet that you don't yet understand. No, I don't claim to be a polymath. I don't claim to know everything there is to know about quantum physics, the energy modalities, all the different energy modalities, all the different ways to use the energy modalities I already know. I'm in the position of an eternal, perpetual beginner. I know that tomorrow I could learn something that's going to make me want to chuck out these paradigms and start afresh, because my mission is about helping people. It's about helping people find their joy. It's about helping people be free of the suffering, the illusion of suffering. And I'm doing whatever it takes. So the question is, are you? That's it for now.